Alright, so we're back. We're kicking off season 4. Got the Mars Hydro 4x4 set up in the last video. Right now we're going to set the light up. This is the fce4800. It's a bar light. You can adjust the bars for better coverage. I already have the majority of the fertigation manager from GrowTech set up in the season 4. We're still going to be running the floor flex like we did in season 3. We're going to be running photo periods this time. So the seeds we're popping are the Square One Genetics. We got the Frozen Fuel, that's the Tahoe OG Banana Buttercups. We got the Grape Rock Candy crossed with Buttercups. And we got an Apple Fritter and a Wedding Cake. We're also going to be popping the Irie Genetics Orange Gasm. And we're going to be popping the Ethos XXX. That's their Lemon Berry Candy OG crossed with their Endgame. Not sure what four are actually going to make the cut for this season. The rest of them will be ran in another room, but we may pop in there every now and then, hit a little shot on the video. Getting everything out of the box, we got our light bars and the side frame supports. We got our Moso driver, as well as our hookup cables, our power adapter, hardware to actually assemble the frame of the light, and the ratchet strap hangers and tethering cord. So what I believe to be the only difference between the FCE model and the FC model, this is the FCE4800. 480 watt. This light uses the Bridge Lux diode, where if you get the FC model, you're going to use the Samsung LM301B. They're both going to be a full spectrum light. They're both going to have the added UV and IR. But this one actually uses a little over 2600 of the Bridge Lux chips, and the bars are movable, so you can control what coverage you need. Where the FC series, I believe, is just foldable and the bars are in a set position. We're going to get this light assembled, put on a watt meter, and we're also going to run some PPFD checks with the Pulse Pro monitor just to get a little idea of the coverage. And we'll also put in some spectrum charts that I got from the Pulse Pro monitor as well. So looking at the side frame bars of the light, Mars Hydro put these little triangles on here, and here's the suggested locations for the light. We're pretty much going to keep their suggestions, although we are going to move this over to where there's two lights on the edge of the tent. So looking at the individual bars themselves, you can tell they put a lot of thought in the consideration of coverage, even coverage at that. Just by how the chip spacing is, you can tell the cool and warm white, probably a 3000, 5000K range. They're packed really tight on the edges, and they loosen up towards the center. Basically, I don't know what all that extra hardware is. Once you snap the bars in, tighten them up with these little wing nuts that they provide. As far as the driver, it literally just sits on here with these little clamp system. Alright, so here's what we got going on. We got the light leveled at 17.5 inches for my tray. I gotta move the GrowTech stuff out. Started setting everything up. Realized I forgot to run the par test for you guys. So 17.5 inches, just where it stopped. I feel like I never really tried to go 12 inches from the canopy. So I like to have a little more room between the light. So 17.5 inches, just where it stopped. I got it leveled. It's no longer swinging. We're gonna put in that Pulse Pro monitor. We're gonna run it with 25 squares. We're gonna do 5 rows of 5. So the chart you're gonna be seeing is the PPFD from the Pulse Pro. This does not include the IR. If you actually add up the photon flux density of the blue, green, red, and IR, these numbers are much higher, but for the ease of use, I like to just go in and do that general statement number that it gives out. Then we'll put in a few random spectrum graphs that the Pulse Pro took as well, so you can get an idea of the color spectrum. Before we get started, we're on the minimum, reading 53.9 watts. At 25%, we're getting about 99 watts. At 50 on the dimmer, we're getting 197, 198. 75 on the dimmer. 75 on the dimmer, we're getting about 367. We'll knock it all the way up to 100. So this light has been running for about 6 hours total now. Whenever I first turned it on, It was about 482, started coming down to about 478-ish. Then now after 6 hours, it's 460s. This will always fluctuate as the light starts heating up. That's why you always want to let the light run for a while before you test it to get an accurate chart. 122.8 volts, we're getting 3.8 amps. So all the way up, you're going to be getting about 3.8 to 3.85 on the amperage. I do suggest everybody get one of these watt meters because, as you've seen, 25, 50, 75, and 100, that is not typically the exact percentages. So if you're on a 100 watt light, you put it on 25, you're not always going to get 25 watts. You've seen some of my last of the cheaper lights, you may be getting 10 watts, and then at 50% you may be getting 25, and the last little 10% will jump you 60 watt differences. Just don't always go by the hash marks being an exact percentage. Okay, all the files got erased, but pretty much the light had pretty even coverage from one end to the other, about 449 on the corners and about 750, 780 in the middle. General average of the light at 17.5 inches was about 600 ppfd, and again, that is without including the IR spectrum. So that is it for the video on the light. The video before this was setting the tint up. Be sure to click on the next video in the upper right hand corner to continue the season 4 setup videos. It is going to be on the germination, followed by the fertigation manager video.